we've done a few videos on corporations outsourcing really good, originally high-paying roles like in tech and some other sectors, and mostly I just focused around just reading articles. But today I want to go to the people. I want to see what people are actually saying over social media about H-1Bs, how that's costing them their jobs, talk about layoffs and downsizing. That all ties in to outsourcing one way or the other, whether it's bringing people into the US to just hand them the job on a silver platter, or doing a bunch of layoffs and building a team that used to be fully stationed and fully occupied by US citizens and moving those jobs to someplace overseas, such as India. So let's see what the people have to say about outsourcing in today's episode. The first commenter is from Reddit, and the headline is, "The more my company outsources jobs, the less I care about my own job," which is just natural human reaction. It's like you want to do a good job, you want to enjoy the work that you do, and then all of a sudden these bosses and these corporations keep messing with you and messing with you and messing with you to the point you're like, bro, I don't even care. I'm grateful to have a job. I'm gonna do the best I can at this role that I have, but I don't even really care about this job in the grand scheme of things, besides I need a paycheck. So this person continues to say, "So my company has been outsourcing accounting jobs over the last few years. It's been a bleeping disaster, and now like 1/4 of my job entails doing some accounting related work. But because the CEO was too cheap to pay accountants, they've offshored the jobs. Now we virtually don't have an accounting department, and my job is more miserable than it was before, and I'm not even being paid for the extra work and misery." And that sums up a lot of feelings, because like I said, you don't want to just have to keep dealing with this stuff. At least, okay, like the guy said, or like the person said, if you're getting the extra work and the extra nonsense, at least have that tie in to making more money. Okay, they're messing with me, they're taking away and changing what my role is supposed to be, but they're paying me more money. Okay, that's a compromise that most of us can live with. But to change the nature of your job, give you extra work, make it a more miserable work environment for no extra pay, that should not be happening. They continue, "I hate outsourcing. What a slap in the face to workers. But I'll tell you, when they do it, it doesn't make me worry about my own job. It just pisses me off and makes me care less about my work quality. Clearly the quality of work doesn't matter to the CEOs, so why should it matter to me?" And that's something that I've talked about before. It's not a matter of these companies wanting quality products. Like I said, I know you guys have heard this a million times if you've listened to my channel before, but go and look at your favorite app and compare it to like 5 years ago. It's not going to be the same quality, but it doesn't seem to matter. These companies in the US can continue to unleash and roll out products with bugs, with glitches, with stuff that basic developers, junior developers could probably fix. But the companies don't care. As long as they're saving money and they're boosting their stock prices, there's no pride in their work. There's no like, hey, I'm really happy with the quality of the things that we're putting out into the marketplace. No, it's just, are we making as much money as possible? And if we can offshore and outsource as many of the jobs as possible, I mean, and think about it, like sometimes people in other countries are doing like error messages. So like you'll get an error message and like, this is not in English, this doesn't make any sense grammatically, doesn't matter. Keep the app up and running, keep getting whatever kind of payment you're getting, whether it's a freemium model or subscriptions or just based off of ads, as long as the money's rolling in and people don't just boycott your app or your service, these companies don't care. Our second post is from Reddit, and the headline is, "The US software industry is at great risk, and the government must implement penalties for offshoring ASAP." And the person says, I work for one of the biggest Fortune 100 companies in the US, and they have frozen US hiring for the last 2 years. They have been hiring in India this whole time at exactly 1/3 of the cost. The positions hired go up to senior director, who also get promoted eventually to VP and then move to the US offices. There have been quarterly layoffs every quarter for the last 2 years, where the ratio for onshore to offshore engineers has went down from 1:1 to 1:2. The software engineers from India have been very successful, far from the old poor quality stereotype. Entire teams are in India, including the team lead, manager, and business analyst. The CTO is Indian American. This is highly concerning to me. And even my manager, who is unable to replace US headcount if someone leaves from our US-based team. If the government doesn't implement tax incentives for keeping jobs here and penalties for offshoring, this industry is screwed. Please call your congressman and senator and protect your and our family's futures. If there are additional ways to combat this, I would like to know. And this certainly ties in with conversations we've had in the past about the H-1B visas. And wasn't the whole point of those things to hire people in industries that are struggling, that could not staff American workers? So if the average American in tech and related fields are struggling more than ever to land a job, how could it be appropriate for the US to bring in H-1B visa workers? This is not something that may be a deficit, like maybe bedside nurses or, I don't know, other things. But certainly in technology, there's no shortage of workers. The problem really is the fact that these companies want to save money on labor, and the easiest way for them to do it is the H-1B visas, which is understandable. I mean, that's business. The part that I have a problem with is nobody's stopping them. Nobody's putting their foot down. There's supposed to be limits of 60,000, 85,000. I mean, we all know that money talks, and I don't think any of us would be surprised if there's loopholes, there's workarounds, if there's other ways to bring in people for these jobs that don't count towards the 65 or 85,000, depending on which stat you're looking at. And then in addition to that, okay, I guess the biggest and best workaround is just the ability to say, all right, well, we can't bring in more than 85,000 people to the country as a whole during a fiscal year. Okay, fine. What we'll do is we'll go and we'll just completely outsource it. I mean, there's these whole business process organizations, I think it stands for, BPO, that just set up in India, and they'll do everything. They'll just completely do anything that you want. Like, they have a whole call center, and multiple people can have their offices and their corporations work out of these call centers, work out of these tech centers. If you want development done, if you need quality assurance done, they set up everything soup to nuts, and then the American company can just come in and take full advantage of that. I mean, that's what, unfortunately, that's what they're doing. So those are 2 stories so far for today. And just let me know down in the comments below if you have a story that you want to share on a future episode. Just make it very clear that you want to be featured, and I'll do my best to include it in a future episode when we just talk about the craziness of the job market. Our next commenter is also from Reddit, and the headline is "Laid off from dream job, struggling like hell." And the person says, "I lucked into my dream job and worked there for 8.5 years. In early September, I was laid off. My entire team was outsourced to India. My Cobra medical coverage expired December 31st, and I was trying to get state funding coverage, but was denied. My unemployment is approximately $1,667.12 a month. My rent is $1,598.50 a month. That leaves $68 for electricity, phone, internet, renter's insurance, and food. But apparently, my unemployment benefits are too much. I didn't qualify for coverage, and my SNAP benefits were $23 a month. I'm a mostly disabled woman with a severe respiratory illness that is incurable. One of my 5 medications I take for my condition is $10,000 every other month. I'm not going to be able to afford it, obviously, and I'm pretty screwed without it. The only replies to my applications have been MLMs, so multi-level marketing, and straight up scams that posted job listings on Indeed. Sorry for the rant, I just had to post something to get it out where people would understand. And that's something we say a lot. You could spend hours and hours and days applying for jobs on Indeed and LinkedIn, and the only call you'll get is from scams, because these companies aren't worried about hiring people. These companies aren't trying to find a great fit for their organization. These companies are just data mining. They're taking your information. Maybe one day in 6 months, a couple years, they'll actually have a real position open. But in the meantime, they'll sell it out to people who are gonna call you and just try to take your information, try to sell you a timeshare, whatever. These are not real jobs that are posted, and the fact that the government can continue to say that there's all these jobs being created and that hundreds of thousands of people are getting new jobs each and every month is really a crying shame. And then we have 2 tweets. The first is, my brother was just laid off as a consultant after networking for almost a year for projects that fit with his purview. Where did all those would-be projects go? Dun 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 dun. India and H-1B. So another person who's just absolutely fed up. Well, I guess it's his brother, but I'm sure he's upset enough for his brother, and I can only imagine how the brother actually feels. That you work hard, and that's the thing I said in a previous episode. People's suggestions are that you just lie in your resume, that you just pretend you have skills that you don't really have. But the real issue for myself and thousands of other people is not that we need to lie on a resume. We have all the skills, we have the qualifications. The problem is we just want too much, and we can't survive on 1/4 of the salary. Things are just too expensive. Like the other person said, the unemployment minus my rent is like $60. So how are you supposed to make it without a decent salary? And it's not like pie in the sky. It's not theoretical conjure. It's just, we've had these jobs previously for 10, 15, 20 years. So why now is it getting so out of hand? And you can say that the H-1B visas are capped at 65, at 85,000, fine. But there's no cap on just completely outsourcing and taking your job completely out of the country. All right, there's only so many people you can import and give the jobs to, fine. But there's no stopping just completely outsourcing. All right, they got to stay in their home country, fine, we'll make that work. And the next is a tweet reply, and this person says, this is clearly not the case in tech. Many people have been laid off and forced to train their own foreign worker replacements. I have had colleagues who replaced entire teams with H-1Bs purely for lower salaries. And that's the thing. If there was some benefit besides financial, I'd be like, oh, okay. If it's like, America has no colleges for computer science, America has no certifications for project management, for business analysis, America has no experience in these roles. Okay, fine. But that's not the case. The case is just that there's plenty of Americans do the job, but nobody's stopping these corporations from going and just, like I said, either completely outsourcing or importing with the H-1B. And then on top of that, talk about peeing on you when you're already on the ground, they make you train your own replacement. And you know, if someone has the exact same skill set as you, and you know that they make a half or a quarter of what you're making, you know you're training your replacement. But what are you supposed to do about it besides just look for a new job? And in this job market, unfortunately, you're probably not going to find a brand new job before you're terminated and replaced from your last job. But let me know what you think about these stories, these people's struggles, and like I said, let me know down in the comments if you have a story that you want to share. If you don't want to share it, fine. Feel free to just leave comments, to vent, and just know that it's not you. Thousands and thousands of people are struggling with this in the US each and every day. Talk to you later.